Well, hello, friends, and welcome. Welcome to our webinar today, More Time, Less Stress. And thank you so much for taking the time to join me here today. I had a conversation with a friend in connection with this webinar, and I asked her if she was going to be able to make it, and she said, no, not enough time. And that, of course, is the challenge for so many of us. And so I thank you and I honor you for our time today. And I am not going to take a lot of it. We'll finish in less than an hour. And I'm not pitching or selling anything. I really just want to share some really effective strategies for having more time and less stress. It would be great if I could tell you that this was based upon empirical evidence and deep research and writing, but it really began during the period of time in which I was a single dad for a dozen years, raising three young boys on my own while managing a law firm. And so the principles I'll share with you today, the strategies and tools are hard won. And they were honed over time, and they are principles and tools and strategies that I use with my executive coaching clients. And they were the foundation for my book, The Power Principles of Time Mastery, Do Less, Make More, Have Fun. I am going to send you all an e-version of that book after our webinar today, along with some of the templates and tools that I'm going to talk about. But thank you for joining me, and I am hoping that this will be super valuable for you. I'm going to just shut off the camera and concentrate on these things that I'd like to share with you. The problems are, of course, myriad that bring us here today. You and me and all of us have so much coming at us all of the time. We have the inundation of obligations for work and for family, kids, relatives, friends. We have emails, text messages, notifications, alerts, the onslaught of the newsfeed and social media, and things that we are responsible for, things that we want to do, but often things that we need to do, have to do in order to keep our respective ships afloat. And you're busy. And I want to suggest that busy isn't necessarily a good thing. In fact, I want to suggest perhaps that busy is bad. Busy means likely that you've lost control of the plot, lost control of your own time. And I want to invite you today in our time together to embrace the fact that maybe there's a better way to live than busy. And another problem, if you're here today, is you probably tried to manage time. As I say in my book, The Power Principles of Time Mastery, I call it time mastery because you actually can't manage time. You are subject to the laws of time. Time will happen and time will pass no matter how hard you try to manage it or mud wrestle it. Time can't be managed. Time just is. We can, however, become better in the way we manage ourselves within time. And these are the strategies that I'm going to share with you today. Another problem is that we're exhausted. We are often running on fumes because we have so much going on, because we're balancing so much. I know that this was true for me for all of those many years as I was raising the kids and managing my law firm. It was just a constant state of fatigue. And I had a wonderful paralegal for a very short time because she saw that the game I was playing was a zero-sum one for her. She said, "Walt, you're like a hamster on a wheel," and that was not a compliment. And Rosemary went back to the gardening industry instead of the law industry. But many of us feel like a hamster on a wheel, or we feel like a bad rendition of a B character in Bill Murray's Groundhog Day, the same thing day after day after day. And that's what I want to invite you to embrace, that there is a better way, a happier way, a more joy-filled way. So there's an opportunity that I'd like to extend to you here today. And the opportunity is to imagine a life where, regardless of how many things you have going on, or how many responsibilities you have, or little ones that you're hurting and shepherding through life, that you're actually able to pop out of bed in the morning without an alarm clock disturbing your peace, and you're excited about the day ahead rather than dreading everything. That your days can flow smoothly, that you're not always feeling hurried, that you're feeling in control, and that you don't actually have to work at night. You don't have to take work home at night, by and large. You can go to bed at a reasonable hour, and you can have a great sleep and wake up and do it again the next day in a way that brings you a lot of satisfaction and joy. And perhaps most of all, you don't miss the magic moments. And it's so easy to make the magic moments yet another to-do on your list, to actually not linger in the magic moments, whether it be with a little one, with a partner, spouse, colleague, friend, a moment in nature, a moment looking up at the sky, the stars in the sky, or seeing the comet, or witnessing another magic sunset or sunrise. You don't miss the magic moments. And the truth is, our lives pass pretty swiftly, and lingering in those magic moments really, really matters. And so what my hope and wish for you is that through at least some of the things I share with you today, that life becomes richer and fuller and even more satisfying for you. I looked at the registration, and I saw many familiar faces and names there. And those of you who are members of our community and have been members of our community, welcome back. We did run some promotion for this webinar, and so I saw lots of new names in our registration today. So welcome here, welcome to our community. I'm so happy that you're here. And for those of you who are new, who am I and why should you care? Well, the likelihood is that the webinar statistics show that you don't really, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I was the managing partner of a law firm for 25 years. I discovered happenstance Tony Robbins and Tony's work, and going through many of his trainings, I was invited in to be one of his elite level certified results coaches, and discovered the amazing work of business coaching and executive coaching and life coaching. And I became certified in other areas of coaching. I was president and chief operating officer of Book Yourself Solid worldwide, which is one of the original business building systems. I have 2 books out in the world. My primary work, which is Journeys on the Edge, Living a Life That Matters, a 2-time bestseller, national bestseller, 2-time winner of the book awards here, the Independent Book Awards, founder of Summit Success International, and the core of my work as an executive coach, helping amazing people create great lives and the work that they love, and a life that they love. And this is the book that I'm going to send you, The Power Principles of Time Mastery, my second book. It's available on Amazon if you want the physical copy. Not pitching that or promoting it, but telling you that I am going to send you a link to the e-version, free link to the e-version when we're done today. And what I want to share with you in our short time together are what I call the 5 hacks of time mastery. And even after 16 years of being in the personal and professional development space, I don't really know what hacks are, but people like hacks because they sound simple. And the principles I'm going to share with you today are, as the late great thought leader Jim Rohn once said, they are simple, but not necessarily easy. And my invitation to you as we dive into the 5 hacks is to stay curious. There's a temptation, I think, when we come to a webinar or masterclass or some other class, and we hear a speaker speak, and they go, "Oh, I know all that already," or "I've tried that and it didn't work." And I've done this work long enough to know that not everything I share works for everybody, but I've also been in the work long enough to know that at least 1 or 2 of these can be game changing for you. So I want simply for you to stay curious. And at the end of the webinar, I'm going to ask you perhaps to commit to yourself. You don't have to commit to anybody else, to try at least 1 or 2 of the things I share with you today. So hack number 1 is protecting the asset, the most important asset in your job, the most important asset in your career, the most important asset in your business, and the most important asset is you. You are the most important asset. Without you, nothing happens. Without your health, it's cliche, it's axiomatic to say, without your health, you have nothing. But without your health, you have nothing. It's all for naught. And so often we skip over this most important principle. And why is it a time mastery principle? It's because if your health goes off the rails, if you get ill, if you go down, if you suffer some chronic illness or injury, then all of these other principles, none of that works. And so I want to invite you to come back to first principles around how to have a rich and full and deeply satisfying life. And that's paying attention first and foremost to you as the most important asset, as the thing, the linchpin that takes care of your children, of your spouse, of your significant other, of your teammates, of your office mates. All of it hinges on your emotional wellness and well-being. And when we, as a company, go out and do trainings for businesses on executive health and wellness, I often will lead with this slide, which I call the wellness triad. And you can see that at the base of the triangle is emotional well-being. And on the 2 other sides of the triangle are eating and exercise. Those are the 3 things that I just want to, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because it's not an executive wellness program, but it is the cornerstone and the foundation of your wellness and well-being, the foundation of all of your ability to manage everything in your life, including your time, hinges on this, particularly that foundation of this triangle, your emotional well-being. When you are emotionally grounded, you're better able to manage your time, your relationships, your connection with eating and exercising. And so getting grounded in yourself, in your emotional self. And I'm going to share with you an important standalone hack before we finish today around how to grab hold of this thing called emotional well-being. But this is about carving out time and space for you. This is about core practices that allow you to show up in your day whole and complete. And then fueling your body. I did this horribly as a trial lawyer and as a single dad. Most days I didn't have time to make much more than boxed mac and cheese because that was the nature of the fury and speed of my life. And I'd go to trial and have breath mints in one pocket and M&Ms in the other, and ride the glycemic index all day long, the glycemic roller coaster. And of course, in those years, because time was at a premium, the exercise fell off the rails as well. And so there's not much holding the whole thing together other than piano wire and duct tape in a situation like that. And so all of these things, your emotional well-being, how you fuel your body, how you exercise, as in move, that's critically important. And none of this needs to be rocket surgery. These can be simple basics, like having some type of practice, like reflective reading early in the morning before your day starts, to ground yourself emotionally. There are other practices, and I'll share one before we finish today. As I said, fueling yourself with good, clean food. I'm a vegetarian. It's just one way to approach life, but because that feels good and clean to me and it works, that's what we do. And exercise. I mean, we're a little bit nutty when it comes to exercise. We're long distance runners and high altitude mountaineers. You don't need to be nutty like that, but moving your body on a regular basis. And when this element of your life is dialed in, you're just going to feel so much better, so much stronger, so much more in control, and are able to make better decisions when it comes to everything else we're going to talk about today. So that's what I've got to say about wellness and well-being, except if you were to do just one thing as a result of this first teaching point. If you just did one thing to address your wellness, it would be get more sleep. You know, people say, well, you know, I don't have time for this, I don't have time for that. Make the time to sleep. I spent many years not doing this as a trial lawyer and a single dad, and it was just plain dumb. And when you're not getting enough sleep, your productivity goes down, your focus goes down, your acuity goes down, your ability to concentrate goes down, your error rate goes up, your stress goes up. And we tell ourselves, and I know peak performers do this, high achievers do this, we say, well, we're going to muscle through this period of time. For me, it was going to get through this next period of time when I had a lot of work, a trial coming up, a deposition coming up. I'm just going to muscle through it. I'll sacrifice the sleep. You sacrifice your sleep at your peril. It leaves you, your immunity system compromised. It makes you more fragile and brittle and less resilient. When you get your sleep dialed in, you are on fire. For those of you who are my professional colleagues as lawyers, know that poor sleep is directly correlated with increased error, and that's the M word, malpractice. Get the sleep you need on a regular basis, and that will be the most important thing I would suggest in protecting that number one thing, which is your asset, which is you. Hack number 2, Waze Your Dayz. What do I mean by this? Well, Jim Rohn, who I referenced earlier, said, if you don't have a plan for your day, someone else will have one. And guess what they've got planned for you? Not much, which is true. So what way too often happens for most people is they show up in their week and in their day without a very specific plan for it. Now, some people have a checklist, a to-do list. And I frankly am someone who loves lists. I've long used a checklist. I'm one of these people who likes lists so much, to-do lists, that I actually like to create my to-do list and put things that I've already done on my list so I can do what this person is doing here, checking off the thing I've already done, because I like that process. It feels good. The problem with a to-do list, though, friends, is that everything on a to-do list looks to be of the same import. And I want to suggest to you that that's not true. And I'll come back to that. So a to-do list is a way to approach your day in a way many people approach their day. I have discovered that the majority of the people who approach their day having their inbox be their plan for the day. And what they do is they wake up in the morning. Happily, when I do this live, I used to ask for a show of hands, and now it's too upsetting because like 95% of the room do this. You wake up in the morning, and the very first thing you do is you check your inbox. And your inbox, dear friends, is someone else's agenda for the day. It's not your plan for the day. And so many people show up without any idea for themselves other than this nebulous idea for themselves. And they live in full reactivity mode, like a little silver ball in a pinball machine, just ricocheting all day long. From email to email, from to-do thing to to-do list, and they end up exhausted and depleted at the end of the day. And that's not the best way to approach one's day or one's week. And so when I say Waze Your Dayz, what I'm talking about is having some type of planning practice for yourself, so that you're navigating your day and your week in a thoughtful and deliberate way. And I mapped this out in Time Mastery. I screenshot this just to illustrate what we do and what we teach to our executive coaching clients is on a Sunday. We do it on a Sunday. Some of our clients do it on a Friday afternoon for the next week. I tend to do it on a Sunday morning. And I sit down and I use the template that I'm going to send to you, but you can use a notebook too. And I start with two questions. And the two questions are, number one, what do I want to experience in the week ahead? Now, I've looked at a lot of time management programs, and I think we are the only ones who ask that question. What do I want to experience this week? And I ask that question because what I'm eager to do is to set a theme or a framework for the week ahead. It becomes a touchstone. And so if there's been a lot going on over the last couple of weeks, maybe what I want to experience is a sense of spaciousness and peace. Or, maybe in any business and many of our lives, the portfolio goes up and down and the bank account goes up and down. Maybe I want to experience abundance and prosperity. Or, if I've been grappling with a running injury, maybe I want to experience wellness and well-being. But I set an intention, a frame. And then when I get into the fray of the week sometimes, I come back to this frame and I go, oh, that's right. I wanted to experience spaciousness and peace. Let me reground myself. And so that's the very first question I ask in my planning, and you'll see it in the template. What do I want to experience in the week ahead? And the second question is, what are the concrete results that I want to create in the week ahead? And what's true is, we often have a vastly overly ambitious set of hopes and dreams and aspirations for the week, but there are only really a few things that we actually can accomplish. Stephen Covey called them the big rocks. For those of you who are familiar with Stephen Covey's work, he had a wonderful exercise where he'd bring in a galvanized bucket, some sand and some gravel and some rocks and some big rocks, and he'd put them all out on a table. And the exercise was to fill the bucket without it overflowing. And people would try and fail, and then he would demonstrate. And what he would do is he would put the big rocks into the bucket first, and then he would put the smaller rocks in and around the big rocks, and then he would put the gravel in and around the smaller rocks, and then he would put the sand and the pebbles in, and everything would fit just perfectly. And he did it, he would say, by paying attention to the big rocks first. And that's why, friends, a to-do list is such a poor tool, is that it is very hard to identify the big rocks in your life, in your week, those very few things that if you fall into bed on Friday night, you will go, oh shit, I didn't get to that again. It went another week without attending to. That's the thing I'm talking about, the thing that will really move the dial, that will make the difference, that will create the magic moment, that will create the inflection point in a relationship or in your portfolio, the things that really, really matter. And then in this planning process, after identifying the thing I want to experience in the week ahead, and the concrete results that I want to create, I go through each area of my life and our lives as a family. So this is what we call the wheel of life. And in the ordinary course, the wheel of life would be quite evenly balanced, and very rarely are our lives evenly balanced. It just doesn't usually happen. Work-life balance is a myth. There's just life. And so we need to work to balance those as best we can. But the important areas of your life are career, money, health, we've talked about, your family and your friends, your significant others, your romantic life, your own personal growth, your fun and recreational. We're a big fans of fun and recreation, and your physical environment, the environment in which you live and work. And so all of these areas of your life are of critical import. And what often happens is that many of these areas get ignored at the expense. The urgent gets paid attention to, and the important gets ignored. And so in a week, in my weekly planning, and as you'll see in what I share with you as resources after our webinar today, what we do at the beginning of the week is we actually identify the experiences that we want to have and the big rocks that are important in each of these areas of our lives. And then, friends, this is where the magic happens. On a Sunday morning, in the quiet of the morning with a cup of coffee or tea, we take those results that we want to create and we go over. We're a Google workplace company, so we use GCal. But this works on iCal and Outlook and old Franklin planners and old calendars. We go in that moment, in that quiet moment of time, and we go over to our calendar and we calendar these things that we want to do in each of these areas of our lives. And so we get, of course, the business stuff on there, the career stuff we get on there. But we also get the fun and recreation on there, and our health-related stuff on there, and our date nights on there, and our connection with our friends on there. So everything is calendared. And we say with discipline comes freedom. Discipline is not necessarily a popular word, but with discipline comes freedom. And so we have these things on the calendar. If you have a busy life and you haven't put your yoga or Pilates on your calendar and something comes up, you tend to blow right by it. But what's beautiful is when you create an appointment with yourself, you're much less likely to blow by it. And if you have to miss it, you reschedule an appointment. And so you'll see all of these exercises and tools in the Power Principles of Time Mastery. And I want to invite and encourage you to become more deliberate about your planning. Okay. Hack number 3, use duct tape, or it never gets done. And done is better than perfect. What do I mean by this hack? Well, when I was a young associate, if my senior partner came in and said, Walt, we have a brief that's due in the court tomorrow morning, and it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was due tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., guess what? That brief would get done. And if my senior partner came in and he said, Walt, we got an appellate brief that's due in the United States District Court for the District of New York in 3 weeks. Guess how long that brief would take? It would take 3 weeks to get done. And what often happens for many, many people, both in their business lives and their personal lives, is that work expands to fill the time available. Work loves a vacuum. And so the more that you can practice what we call constraining time, the more in control you will be. And so, if you're on our program today and you're a professional, as a lawyer, as I was for more than 2 decades, and you're working on a deposition preparation, well, you could set a timer for 2 hours and work to complete within that 2 hours. Or if you're a writer or you do content marketing like we do and are turning out things like blogs, we could say, I'm going to turn this blog out in an hour and be done. I remember when I was finishing up Journeys on the Edge and I was doing my final read through. It was so painful to have to go through my manuscript one more time. I would do it in an hour at a time. I would set the time on the microwave and I would get up like every 3 minutes and say, oh my God, only 57 minutes now. But the work got done because I created constraints around the time. And so regardless of the area that it is, when you find projects getting out of control, a hack is constraining time, creating blocks of time. And that's a corollary principle that I want to invite you to understand, which is working not only in constrained time, so in blocks of time. So let's just say you have a big project, you're writing a book, or you're preparing for a trial, or you're got a big art project or a big creative project. Well, what the research shows is that we work best in 60 to 90 minute blocks of time. Just like we sleep in rhythms, we work in rhythms. And so we work best in 60 to 90 minute blocks. And so if you have a big project and you can't fit it in an hour or 90 minutes, well, create a block of time in which you work and then take a break for like 15 minutes. Have a drink of water, go outside, read from your Kindle, do something, and then come back and work another block, 60 to 90 minutes. And during the 60 to 90 minutes, friends, do just this work. Don't be bopping in and out, which is another problem, which we're going to talk about in a moment. But work in these 60 to 90 minute blocks of time and avoid all of the distractions. This is the thing that gets in the way the most frequently with your time management and productivity. Your smartphone, the little thing in your pocket, which is more powerful than the most powerful supercomputers of the 70s and 80s and 90s. It all fits in your pocket right now. And it is a beautiful, powerful, wonderful tool that is also the bane of most of our existence and also the cause of most of our distractions. What the research has shown is that if this is even in your room, in the space in which you're working, it will cause you to be less productive. Even if it doesn't go off, you know it's there. And so to the degree that you can stop your notifications and alerts when you're working, work in pure block time, have your assistant, your paralegal, your secretary, your EA, your VA, hold your calls. Enroll your team members to help you so that you're undistracted. You will be so much more productive. Now, I can hear some of you already whispering, well, that won't work for me. I was working with the senior partner at a multinational law firm, and I gave her this principle during a workshop. And she came to me afterward and she said, Walt, I'm the chair of the litigation department, and we have an open office plan. So this just wouldn't work for me. And I said, well, Loretta, does your open office plan have a do you have doors on your offices? Yes, she said, but they're all glass. I said, well, great. You know, God made these wonderful things called 3M sticky notes. Here's what I'd like you to try. I'd like you to put a little sticky note on your door that said, working on a project, come back in an hour. And I saw her a couple of weeks later and I said, so how's it going? She said, the sticky note idea was amazing. And I got so much more done with my work because I was uninterrupted. And friends, in some of my promotion for you for this webinar today, I suggested that I could recover 10 plus hours of your week. And the research is really clear. If you run the metrics on your phone from week to week and see the amount of time that you spend on this device, it's extraordinary. Sometimes 3, 5, 8, 10 plus hours a week. And if you multiply your social media time with your other media consumption, with your streaming consumption, usually when I work with busy executives, one of the very first things I do is we do a time audit. And what I'm able to determine in a time audit is there is usually 15 or 20 hours of time. That's like a part-time job. Imagine what you could do with 15 or 20 extra hours a week. And all of this begins with better discipline and management around the distractions that we have, becoming more mindful of that. Okay, enough said on that, except that the principles of distraction and distracted living are really significant challenges for most of us. Now, I want to come back in hack number 4 to what I think is the most powerful time mastery hack, life mastery hack of all, and that's meditation. And some of you will have, oh, heard that before. I've tried it. It doesn't work for me. The evidence is clear, ladies and gentlemen. I like to say that to my lawyer colleagues because they like evidence a lot. The research is clear. The evidence is clear. The MRIs, the CAT scans are clear that with a very simple meditation practice, your even 5 minutes a day for 6 weeks, that's what the research shows. 5 minutes a day for 6 weeks will actually re-express your genes. Your gene expression will actually change your levels of cortisol. Your stress levels will be less. Your inflammation levels will be significantly less. Your focus will be dramatically increased. Your acuity, your error rate will decrease. I've been a meditation practitioner for, I think probably going on 30 plus years now. And I will tell you that it is the number one most important practice in my life that has changed everything. And I began to adopt it in those years in which I was a single dad, because I found myself so reactive all the time. I had very short fuse for things going off the rails at work and at home. And what meditation allowed me to do was to settle that reactivity. And when I'm doing this program in front of a group, I'll often bring one of those holiday snow globes that you can shake up, and all of the flakes will be swirling around the globe. And then you put the globe down on the counter and very slowly the flakes settle and the holiday scene becomes clear again. And that, friends, is the gift of meditation over time, that you do have more clarity, more stability, more focus, greater peace. Another way to describe it is if you were to watch a Olympic high diver on television, they would approach the ladder, they'd climb the ladder, they'd get to the top of the ladder, they'd go out, they'd bounce on the end of the board, they'd go up in the air, and they would go into the water. And that's how you see it, as this fluid motion. And if you were to interview this high diver, what they would say would be that for them, it's as if each individual second or set of seconds is like a freeze frame. They're seeing it in slow motion. Each step up the ladder, each step down the board, each motion in connection with the bounce on the board, the rise into the air, the arc of the body, the turn of the body, all the way down to going into the water and coming back up, all of that in freeze frame, as if in slow motion. And one of the gifts of meditation is that it slows our internal dialogue way down. And slow is good. Our slow internal action is really good, because paradoxically, the slower our reactivity is, the greater our focus, the more control we have. And it appears as if we have more time. And in fact, we do, I think, or at least we have a greater perception of the abundance of time, the gift of time. And so I want to encourage you, friends, to take a shot at meditating. If you've tried it before, try it again. If you've tried it now and it's not working, if it is working, double down on it. I have this picture of the bicycle because in the middle of that wheel at the hub, it doesn't move. The bicycle might move quickly. The wheel might be spinning quickly, but the hub is the still point in the turning wheel. And that is the benefit of meditation. You can be a still point in a turning wheel in a crazy world where you've got a lot going on with the kids, or with your team, or with projects, or your loved ones, or your friends. You can be that still point. And you can get lots of apps for this. You can, if you want, or not. I did this program for a group of financial service advisors a number of years ago, and the event planner had dozens and dozens and dozens of emails. What should we wear to meditation? It's like, you don't have to wear anything special. You can wear your suit clothes, you can wear your business clothes, you can wear your gym clothes, you can wear your Zoom clothes, doesn't matter. A simple breath meditation, 5 minutes a day, will change everything for you. So my invitation is to experiment again with it. Hack number 5. Hat tip to Cal Newport, the author of Deep Work, a book I often send to clients and recommend to people. Newport is an MIT grad. He's on the faculty of Georgetown. Brilliant man. His book Deep Work suggests that with the rise of AI, with the rise of technology, the only thing that will be unique to human beings is our capacity to go deep, to do deep work, to do deep creative work. And he's prophetic in that, I believe, because as we've seen just in recent times, AI is going to replace a lot of sophisticated things that we do. But our spirit, our depth of thinking, our ability to connect with those deep places in life, that is unique to our humanity. And so the book is a worthwhile read, but one of the things that I love to incorporate in time mastery programs is that a lot of people talk about morning routines. And I alluded to one at the very beginning when I talked about protecting the asset. My morning routine includes, well, don't try this at home all at once, getting up at 4:30 in the morning, still to this day, because it's the quietest time of the day for me. It includes my meditation, my reflective reading, my journaling practice, my morning prayer practice, the things that ground me. So in every time mastery book, time management book, article, whatever, you'll see the importance of having a morning routine. I believe having an evening routine matters as much, if not more. And so, what I mean by a hard stop is that you choose a time when you want to stop the day, when you want the madness to stop. And that can be whatever time of the day you want. For me, it tends to be 5 p.m. Yours could be 6 p.m. or 4 p.m. or 7 p.m. or whatever you want it to be. Here's what most people do, though. They don't have a hard stop at the end of the day. Maybe they rush home from the office and they're checking their cell phones, and they're having dinner and they're checking their cell phones, and then they're over to their tablet or the laptop, and they're in and out of the laptop and in and out of homework and in and out of all sorts of stuff. And then maybe they have a Netflix show, and then they check their email a few more times, and then they drop into bed and wonder why their sleep is fitful. Well, one of the reasons your sleep is fitful is because you've had all of this input all evening long that has included these devices that are meant to set us free, but actually enslave us. And so you've been in and out of this stuff all evening long. The backlighting on the screens is actually disruptive to melatonin, your sleep hormone. And so you're activated by all of the input. Your hormonal balance has been screwed up, and then you think you're going to get a good sleep. My invitation as a time management hack is to consider a different way, which is to choose a time when you're going to do a hard stop at the end of the day. So mine is 5 o'clock. I go in, I check my email, respond to, whatever feels like it's important to respond to before the end of the day. And we do have a policy in our company where we do respond to every email before the end of the day. So, as the CEO, I like to be compliant with our company's policy. So I do that. I see if there are any calls I need to return, take care of that, and go back through my plan and be sure that I've taken care of those things. And then I close my laptop and I say, I'm done. And that's it. And then I go back to my work the next morning. Not the first thing. Remember, we talked about that. Not someone else's plan for my day, but I start the next day after our morning routine, after our first business meeting of the day around 9 or 9:30. And so having some type of hard stop to the end of your day will actually make you a better custodian of your time on the next day and the next day after that. What I'm sharing with you in these 5 hacks are strategies that make life sustainable, yes, but the objective of these hacks is to not make life just bearable, not just sustainable, but to allow it to feel more spacious and more joyful so that you don't miss the magic moments. So I want you just to take 1 minute, and if you're driving, my invitation to you is do this in your head, not while you're moving. But if you're in your office or in your home, take just a minute and write down one thing or sub thing that you might experiment with this week. Maybe it might be creating a plan. Maybe it might be experimenting with block time, or experimenting with constraining time around a project or a creative endeavor. Or maybe you'll re-engage or engage the first time with meditation. But just take a minute and write it down. If you feel inspired, you can share it in the chat. If you don't feel inspired, you can just keep it to yourself. But make a commitment to experiment with it. Don't experiment with everything, friends, because then it goes into overwhelm, and overwhelm is what I don't want for you. Just make a commitment to experiment with one thing. And as I said at the beginning, not everything works for everybody. Not everything I've shared so far will land with everybody. That's okay. That's okay. I know that at least one of these things has the capacity to change a lot for you. So I want to invite you to experiment with something. And then if it sounds like it's going to work, give it 60 or 90 days and see what the results are. So that's my invitation. Write it down and then start tomorrow. Now, just a few more things before I wrap up. And again, I'm not making a pitch or an invitation or an offer or anything like that. So please, if you're able, please stay with me. This is the Power Principles of Time Mastery. I am going to, this is a picture of an opt-in page that I sometimes use, but you don't even have to opt in because I'm going to send you this just for registering. I'm going to send you an e-version of the book. I'm going to send you a set of executive planning templates that we actually use with our executive coaching clients that will help you with the planning practices that I suggested here today. So watch for those in the emails or email that you get after the webinar. Probably won't be right in the moment, but you'll get them soon after the webinar. And again, be curious, experiment with this, see what works for you. That's the link if you're actually like really eager to get them like right now. You can go to that link, but I'm not inviting you necessarily to do that because I am going to send you that with a hyperlink. So a quick story to finish up. We have a dear friend, his name is Kevin. Kevin was an investment banker for many years. And Kevin came to a point in his life, early in his life, where he wanted a saner existence. He had made some money, a decent amount of money, but he was ready to stop. And so what he decided to do was to cash in his chips. And there weren't, it wasn't a big number at the time, but he cashed in his chips and he bought himself a beautiful sailboat and he sailed from Boston, which is where he lived, down to the Caribbean and lived on his boat for a number of years. And then Kevin sailed across the Atlantic and he walked into a pub in the west coast of Ireland. And we were living in Ireland at the time. And he walked up to the bartender in the pub and he said, "Give me a Shiraz." And we immediately recognized him as an American and we introduced ourselves. Kevin became a wonderful friend of ours over the years. And Kevin went off on a sailing trip up to Iceland, up into the Faroe Islands. He came back and we were going to have dinner with him. And I went down to the pier to pick him up one evening. It was a beautiful, beautiful summer evening. And I hadn't seen him in a long time. And he came off his little tender and he was getting into the car and the light was golden. And I said, "So Kevin, how are you, man?" And he said, and his eyes just sparkled. He had this big smile on his face and he said, "Wealthy." And I thought, oh, this is going to be good because, Kevin's like smart and he's like super smart in stocks. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to get a great stock tip and I'm going to be wealthy. And then his smile got even more radiant and the golden summer light lit up his face. And he said, "Wealthy in time." And that, friends, is real wealth. And that is the wealth that I want for you. At the end of our lives, no one is going to care how many hours you booked, how many frequent flyer miles you've accumulated, how many deals you've done, how many connections you have on LinkedIn, how many likes you have on Insta, how many tweets you've tweeted on X. No one's going to care about that. What will matter will be the experiences that you have had, the lives that you have touched, the love that you have shared. What will matter is that you have paid attention not to the urgent, but to the important. What will matter is that you have lived without regret. And that is my hope and my prayer for you, that you are wealthy in time. I am wanting to honor and respect your time. And I thank you for spending your precious time with me today. Look for the follow-up with the resources. I pop an invitation in over on the inside of the window of your screen. Those of you who are listening to it as a replay may find it on the bottom of your screen. But if you would like to set up a strategy call with me, I don't do often. I don't have a lot of time for any of these. But if it would be beneficial to have a strategy call together, just some basic contact information on a very, very short form when you click that button. And when you do that, it will disappear in the ether, and someone from my amazing team will reach out and we'll schedule some time together. And that would be a privilege and a gift to do for me, and I would hope for you as well. So if you would like to avail yourself of that opportunity, you'll find that either over on the right-hand side if you're live, or on the bottom of the screen if you're on a replay. Again, thank you for your time. I wish you well. I wish you the great gift of time, health, wellness, and joy. Make it a great rest of the day, a great rest of the week. Take good care. Bye for now.